Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The End Game Insiders on Your Side, a podcast that's been developed for senior lab executives by senior lab executives. My name is Melissa Butterworth, and I am your proud host of the End Game podcast. So, we have recently reconfigured our company, and we have made the decision that as a M&A lab focused acquisition company, we are now going to be focusing 100% of our efforts on health systems. We were very fortunate to have closed on one of the largest transactions in history. We closed on the CHS LabCorp transaction, which constituted over 62 hospitals at the end of 2025. And I spent the first half of the year reorganizing our organization, refocusing, pivoting, and just doing some things internally that we needed to do so that we could focus 100% of our efforts on the health systems. So, as many of you know, I've had Advanced Strategic Partners for over 19 years. We're going on our 20th anniversary here soon. It's been an honor and a privilege to represent pathology groups, to represent laboratories, both clinical and molecular. But moving forward, we are going to be focusing 100% of our efforts on large health systems. So that's a little fun fact about us and what I've been up to for the last couple of months. And we took a little break from our podcast, but I am so happy to be back and be focused and to be here today to provide you with valuable tips and information that may help you as a lab owner or someone in the lab industry go from A to Z a little quicker. So, with that being said, I'm going to jump right into today's podcast, which has to do with a subject that I've talked about before. And it's the number one subject that we are asked questions on day in and day out. And that is, when is the right time to sell your laboratory? Now, that is very simply asked, but the answer is really very strategic and very nuanced. And so, timing a lab sale isn't just a personal readiness or a hot market, it's really about aligning your operational strengths, your financial stability, your market positioning, and all of your personal growth at the same time. Now, over the years, I've worked with many lab owners navigating this question. And what I've learned that is the most critical is both the thoughtful preparation of the laboratory, of all of your financials, of all of your agreements, of all of your manuals. I mean, there's just so many critical key documents that you need to prepare and you need to have put into a cloud environment and very well organized before you take your lab to the market. But not only that, you also need to find out from advisors like us, which we are one of the top lab specific M&A team in the country. You need to ask your advisors if the timing in the market from the buyer's perspective is the right timing. And what do I mean by that? Well, selling your lab is much more than a transaction. It has to do with a lot of things, including whether or not the buyers in the market are strategically looking for your specific type of laboratory, your size of laboratory, your laboratory, is it in a region that they're strategically focused on? I mean, there's just so many different questions, and knowing whether or not the buyers are interested in your specific laboratory is critical, because you wouldn't want to take your laboratory to the market if it's not the right timing. So, if you take it too early, you may leave growth opportunities on the table. If you wait too long and the market dynamics or the competition shifts, then you're going to reduce your negotiating power. So, timing is very strategic, and it should not be a reactive thing. So again, how do you know when the timing is right? Well, from my work and from many lab owners, here are a few indicators. Number one, do you have strong, stable financials? They want to be able to predict, the buyers do, right? They want to predict that the revenue and that your operating margin are healthy and that they've been consistent and healthy for the prior years. Labs with clear consistent performance are going to be far more attractive than labs that had a good year one year, a bad year the next year, a good year the next year. That makes them feel incredibly unstable. They're also going to look at number two, your operational maturity. Do you have clear processes? Do you have trained staff? Do you have well documented SOPs? And they're really focusing right now on the area of billing and compliance. So you want to make sure you have everything in those areas sealed and just put together in a manner that is not going to cause any sort of red flags. That is also something that we do at Advanced Strategic Partners. We help you assess those things before taking you to the market. Number three, they look at market positioning and what is the growth potential. For example, a lab with a very strong niche, unique capabilities, or really untapped growth opportunities are going to command a much higher value. For example, we recently completed a transaction at the end of 2025. There were 62 lab operations as a part of the transaction, and they were in many states that were very attractive to the buyer who purchased them. And not only were they in good states from a strategic perspective, there was a lot of growth opportunity in the fact that there were a lot of physician office networks that were employed physician offices of the particular system that we sold the lab operations of. So there was a lot of upward growth potential. So what else do buyers look for? They also look for external market conditions. What are what's going on in the industry? What's going on with regulatory shifts specific to your sort of testing that you're looking to sell? And they're also going to look at the different states that you are doing business in and what are the contractual arrangements look like in those states. For example, let's just say that you might be in the state of Alabama. Well, we all know that Alabama in the last 18 months signed an exclusive agreement with one of the big national laboratories. So if you are a seller of a lab and you've got operations in Alabama, then it's going to narrow down your potential buyers because a lot of buyers can't compete in that market for the Blue Cross and Blue Shield work. So those are the type of details that really matter when you were thinking about taking your lab to the market. The fifth thing is whether or not you are personally ready. It's not just a business decision, it's really a life decision. And it's important that you align your professional and your personal goals. And so we as advisors can help you with that, and we can help you with preparing your documentation and making sure that everything is in perfect order before you take it to the market. So, timing isn't just about watching the market, it's about preparing your lab well in advance. Well, how far in advance should you prepare your lab? Typically, we work with laboratories anywhere from 90 to 180 days before we take you to the market. Just depends on how efficient and how organized you are. Preparation, once again, includes making sure all your financial reporting and compliance documents are in order, making sure all your operational processes and documentation are in order, looking to highlight your growth opportunities in your specific regions for prospective buyers, and then also looking to make sure we mitigate your risk before we take you to the market. Once again, two common areas that we see to be very problematic are in the billing and compliance area. And those are all things that our team is well prepared to help you with. Labs that approach a sale strategically rather than reactively are going to gain the confidence of the buyers, and they're definitely going to realize much higher valuations. So I know this has been a lot of information and a very condensed podcast, but if you would like more detailed information, I do have two published books, one called The End Game, the other called The End Game for Hospital Executives. So if you would like to have more details, feel free to reach out to me at M18 Butterworth at Advanced Strategic Partners with an S.com. I'd be happy to send you a complimentary copy of one of our books that could take you in a much more depth, a lot of the topics that we have spoken about today. And if you'd like to listen to this podcast again, we post all of our podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and on our website at www.advancedstrategicpartnerswithan S.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been my pleasure Signing off as your host, and I'll talk to you in 2 weeks.